You are listening.
You're listening.
You're listening.
You're listening
To a TVO Today.
TVO Today.
to a TVO Today.
TVO Today
podcast.
The following podcast contains coarse language, descriptions of violence, and sensitive themes which may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Previously on Extradition.
It is a really painful memory. It's really sad and it's really hard to describe.
I mean, Xinjiang number prison, it's the central prison in Xinjiang. That's where the most high-profile detainees are.
The rate of expansion of the prison state has been very rapid.
The prisons in Xinjiang all have enterprises affiliated with them.
They used electric stick to get my confession. Just imagine, Celil is inside. You will lose your hope.
I would find the Chinese speakers and call the prison. Let me just generate a file for you with all the police officers who work at the prison and their phone numbers.
Yeah, so thanks to Gene, we have now tons of phone numbers from prison staff at the number one prison. So it's a long shot, but I think this is kind of the best lead we have. Producer Kevin Young and I are sitting in my basement work office, both of us staring at a spreadsheet with a list of 40 names of staff who work at the Xinjiang number one prison. The jail we are pretty sure at this point that Huseyin Celil is in. Both of us trying to figure out what to do next. He gave us the phone number for the jail. And then, the personal phone numbers, which we might catch people when they're at the jail or when they're at home or when they're at dinner with their family. Yeah. No one we had spoken with had ever tried to call prison staff directly in the search for Huseyin. All we had to do was call and ask if anyone could tell us anything about Huseyin Celil. Sounds simple, right?
To keep everyone safe.
Yeah.
It's a big job.
Yeah.
From my research, every way we could call China, there's ways to trace it back. There's ways for them to know who we are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not so simple. There was a lot we hadn't considered. Who was going to make the calls? How were we going to make these calls? And was this even a safe idea?
I think my question is then, how much does it matter then? And do we just make the calls? Whatever.
Yeah. See, all this stuff is super technical and it's almost like we need a cybersecurity person.
And yes, we could think we have it right, but you make one slip
and they have you. I'm Yusuf Zine, and this is Extradition, the search for Huseyin Celil. Chapter 3, The Great Firewall of China.
I don't know what surveillance cameras you use in this building, but that's another. Outside, the building was using a Swedish brand, but
outside this building.
Outside, yeah, but I didn't happen to pay attention when I was walking into your offices. But there are some definite vulnerabilities in certain brands of cameras that are worth being aware of.
Connor Healy is a cybersecurity expert at IPVM. That's the Internet Protocol Video Market. They're a security and surveillance industry research group that investigate the technologies governments buy and report it to the public, specifically any unethical forms of surveillance. And for the last 10 years, Connor has been reporting on surveillance in Xinjiang.
A lot of people don't like to hear this. But if you just go based off the facts of what are the tactics of the Chinese Communist Party, it really resembles the mafia. This is calling you up, threatening your family. This is what they do. This is the character of that organization. They will play dirty.
I oscillate back and forth between am I being too paranoid versus, should I be more paranoid? How paranoid should we be?
It honestly depends on how good this podcast ends up being. I mean, so raising the case at all is a cause for paranoia. If you happen to find anything sort of new, particularly if it's not a good look for China's government, then it's almost guaranteed that there will be some kind of reaction. Yeah, I would be more paranoid around like the lead up to publication and a few weeks after. Also, don't go to China or Hong Kong.
Ever?
Yeah.
Why?
One aspect of the surveillance systems we looked at is that they do like profile and track foreign journalists.
By they, he means the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP.
So, you are someone who's actually participated in what would be considered an anti-CCP publication, and it would be rather risky for you to do that.
Okay.
But I don't think it should dissuade anyone from doing good reporting. So.
Right. So no matter what we do,
yeah,
we're on their list. Okay.
My knee-jerk reaction to Connor telling me never to go to China was that I would be fine, given the protection of my Canadian passport, which is pretty ironic, considering that's exactly what Huseyin Celil thought too. China's mass surveillance system has only grown in sophistication over the years, with companies like Hikvision, Dahua, and Huawei, yes, the phone company, being awarded enormous contracts to install massive surveillance systems in the Xinjiang region. Online censorship is another massive tool for the Chinese government. Many Western sites are blocked in China, like YouTube or Facebook. They also have their own social media platforms, which are, of course, all heavily monitored by the Chinese government. This elaborate censorship apparatus has been widely called the Great Firewall of China.
The message that China gives to Chinese nationals when they're detained or if they're Uyghur is basically, no matter where in the world you are, we will find you and watch you and harass you and arrest you. As historians look back on the story of Xinjiang, perhaps one of the biggest themes will be really the first technology-powered mass internment of an ethnic and religious minority.
So how does one breach this great firewall? Well, the most common way Chinese citizens are able to access uncensored internet sites is by using a VPN, a virtual private network. Something Connor said could also be a tool to protect us, to an extent.
The value of that is basically it sort of changes your IP address, and it makes it harder, not necessarily impossible, but harder to determine the location that you're in as an internet user, and provides a degree of anonymity, right? Because if you're consistently using the same IP address, first of all, there's geolocation, and second of all, you'll constantly sort of be tied to what you do with that IP address, right? VPNs are not like a panacea of cybersecurity.
But it's not like you turn on a VPN and you're secure and no one can find you.
Yeah, nothing is perfect like that. It just makes it harder to locate you or tie online activity to you.
Right.
I would probably use something called Tor.
Tor is a free and open source web browser. If you've ever heard of the deep or dark web, Tor is the way in.
But Tor is also just like a regular web browser. It's just basically allows you to enter the internet sort of pretty much totally anonymously.
There was also the question of how our team should be communicating with each other about this project.
So a lot of people use Signal. That's a very popular solution.
Signal is like WhatsApp, but far more secure. While both services use end-to-end encryption, Signal ensures the metadata information of its users is kept private and can't be collected.
But a lot of what it's really about is trust. Google may say in its policies, like, we're not going to read your email, but they could if they wanted to, and so that's a trust-based relationship, right? With Apple, you trust that they're not going to give a backdoor to the Chinese government, right? Like, I think that's a reasonable expectation. They probably wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. They would probably go to jail if they did that.
Right. I mean, it sounds like from what you're saying is that they're capable of hacking my laptop camera or nothing's off the table. Is that true?
Yeah, that is generally true. Some things are just much easier than others, right? But yes, everything is on the table. My philosophy is the following. It is impossible to compete with a nation state when it comes to maintaining your own cybersecurity, but it is, I think, worth it to make it harder for them.
If you were doing this, if you were in
Sure.
our shoes and you were looking for Huseyin Celil,
Right.
what would you be worried about? What would you be looking at? And how would you protect yourself? And then by extension, are we putting Huseyin at risk?
I mean, it's a bold endeavor. There's no such thing as creating like a perfectly secure system, but the resources involved to monitor encrypted phone calls and messages in that way are just like so much greater for the Chinese government that it really significantly reduces the likelihood that anything in particular would be read. As for whether or not it's risky for Celil, I don't really see how you could make things worse for him.
But I think this works.
Yep.
This will be our headquarters.
Back at our home base, we put Connor's advice in action. We started by getting a VPN on all of our devices, including phones. Next, we moved all communications over to the Signal app. We decided to avoid divulging any sensitive details of our phone call plans via email. We also began using the Tor browser for any research on Xinjiang, especially on the #1 prison. From there were a slew of other security measures, two-factor authentications, password managers, and encrypting our computer hard drives. Security-wise, we were almost covered and ready to make the phone calls. Next, we set out on our search for a translator. But people weren't lining up to take part in this assignment. Calling a secret Chinese prison to inquire about a high-profile inmate wasn't exactly an enticing idea, especially for someone with a Chinese citizenship.
Well, now we're getting to the translator issue, right? Of the safety of others now.
Yeah. I think we can protect the identity of the translator pretty easily.
After a few months of searching, and various people turning us down, we finally found someone who agreed to the task, with one condition, that they remain completely anonymous.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
So again, if at any point you feel uncomfortable or just if anything comes up, like we just want to make sure you're comfortable with this and that you're feeling okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but thank you again. We're really excited to have you on board. I think this, whatever we get, I think this is a really important piece.
Well, I hope I can provide some value.
So I think we'll have to have different strategies for...
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of have one shot at it too, because like, unless we get somebody else who picks up the phone and like what we're going to say to them, I don't know.
How do we...
Yeah.
Well, how should we phrase things? How should we,
Yeah, like what's the right...
Our translator had a difficult job, and to some extent, would have to make things up as they went along.
I mean, we can try different things. Maybe with one person we try Huseyin Celil, another person we try... But there's like 40 phone numbers, so...
Yeah.
It's like 40 attempts to try it.
I know.
I hopped on a call with our translator to rehearse possible scenarios.
I think if you just open with, hi, I understand you work at the #1 prison, just starting with a question. I'm calling the information on Huseyin Celil. But I think even one thing we could try is we're focused on telling both sides of the story. There's been a narrative.
Yeah, that's really good.
About Husein's story and what's happening in the #1 prison or what's happening in Xinjiang. Can you tell us, like, from your perspective, do you want to try that?
这段时间在媒体上看了很多吉利的消息，然后我们是想了解一下他一些新的情况。Like I'm saying, like there's been a lot of reports. 我们想就是从不同的角度去了解一下他的故事。There's different sides of the story.
How did you get this number? Because this is my personal cell phone number.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Doing these rehearsals helped us plan our responses. We also had some debate on how to refer to him. Huseyin Celil, Guler Delaver, but we settled on referring to him by his Chinese name. Xinjiang Jilili. Lastly, the technical question of how we were going to actually make these calls. Kevin and I quickly brainstormed.
Well, we need a few computers. Because we need one to do the voice changing, we need like a few, like there's so many different...
Oh, really?
It's a whole production. So then how, like what, do you get a burner number? And how do you get a burner number that's not associated with any, like...
Yeah, because you have to give
a
ID.
name and, ID and credit cards and then like, okay, even a VoIP, it's like, well, you have to pay with a credit card. There aren't really many free ones, so that you have to...
Holy. And don't you have to give ID, like a driver's license when you sign up for a phone number? Or?
We decided to go with a VoIP service, which stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. This would allow us to make calls online while still utilizing a VPN. Our options were WeChat, Viber, WhatsApp, and Skype. WeChat, Viber, and WhatsApp didn't work. When we researched why, people said they were unreliable apps to make international calls, and in some cases, calls to China from Viber and WhatsApp get blocked. Thankfully, Skype came through.
You have reached the Embassy of Canada in Beijing.
Worse.
The office is currently closed.
But in order to use these, you still needed to input a real phone number and email address. Email address was easy. We just created a new one with none of our real information. But obviously it wasn't safe to use any of our own phone numbers. So we needed a burner number that didn't have any of our personal information attached to it. We discovered a website that would allow us to buy disposable phone numbers. Best of all, we could pick any country we wanted this number to be from. But only certain countries' phones worked with Skype's verification process. Ukraine, the United Kingdom, the US, and Canada. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a local Chinese number, but at least we now had dummy phone numbers to call China. The day had arrived, and we were finally ready. We had a translator, we had a strategy, more or less, and we had a location, the TVO offices. At the time, there was a 13-hour time difference between Canada and China. We went at night, so our calls would be in the morning there. It was me, our producers Kevin and Tiff, and our translator. The building was essentially empty, except for us.
Here, do you want this?
Oh, sure, thanks.
And then I'll take the other. Oh, I'll take those headphones.
Oh my god, that sounds so serious.
You do sound pretty serious.
That's how I normally talk.
To make sure it was all going to work, we tested it by calling a hotel in Beijing.
Wake up, wake up.
咱们酒店说麦你好。
你好，这边是 Firewall 酒店吗？
对。
我想问一下，您那边是一个晚上多少钱呢？
目前今天看。
That was hilarious. Okay. He was like, "Oh, let me check for you." And
That's okay. We know it worked.
It almost felt like the old days when we used to make prank calls as kids. But now, knowing it worked, we got ready for the real calls. Our translator practices pronouncing Husein's Chinese name.
Xinjiang, Jilili, Xinjiang, Jilili.
Okay, let's give it a try.
您好，您拨打的电话已停机。
The number you have dialed is not in service.
This happened a couple of times. Our translator scanned the 40-something rows of phone numbers on the Excel spreadsheet.
It's really weird, like I'm trying to go with people I think might have softer personalities.
Just from the name?
Mm-hmm. Number 9. Let's do number 9.
Here we go.
what is that? It's a dial tone.
Like ringbacks.
Yeah, it's kind of like ringbacks.
It's like this dramatic song.
Remember, like, with your cell phone plan, you could get a song. It'd be like, here, check out this ringback while we connect your call. Yeah. And this beautiful serenading music at least relieves some of the tension.
Wait. Oh. You know what the lyrics said? I'm an imprisoned bird. So that's actually a really good sign that person is actually using the number. Which number are we calling from?
We switched up our number from a Ukrainian to a Canadian one. Okay, number 4.
Number 4.
This is one I heard a lot in our tests. Nothing like smooth jazz to calm the nerves.
Wow,
that was pretty exciting.
For a moment, it sounded like someone picked up. It says number unavailable.
Yeah, the strategy's not working. Let's try a tough man. Let's try number 22.
All right, here's 22.
Sorry, the subscriber you dialed is not available. Please dial again.
Okay, we're calling from Canada. Should we? I mean, it really doesn't make a difference.
Would UK make a difference? Because it's just a little... No?
Any foreign number will be like, who the heck is this?
Who is this?
After several strikeouts, I started to worry that no one would answer the phone.
您好，您拨打的电话正在通话中，请稍后再拨。
The number you have dialed is busy. Please try again.
Might have been that we're calling from a foreign number.
I think it's effectively a foreign number too.
What are the odds of somebody picking up with a private number?
Private number?
Like
If it doesn't say anything.
Could be better. Can we do that?
I can do that.
Let's try.
Let's definitely do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's do... I'm just picking randomly. 13.
Lucky 13.
This has got to work now. This time, we got a different ringtone message. The woman is saying how Urumqi, the city we're calling, is a national civilized city. Quote, every stop at a red light, every safe pedestrian crossing, every time someone stops to pick up scraps of litter, we see signs of your beauty everywhere. Many thanks. But before we could hear more...
喂，你好。喂，你好。哎，能听见吗？
你说。
你好。
Our translator asked if they worked at the number 1 prison. Then someone else took the phone and responded saying, "What's the matter? Go ahead."
想问一下，您那边有没有一个犯人叫玉山江吉利利？
Our translator continued to explain how we're looking for this Uyghur prisoner at your jail, Huseyin Celil.
不好意思，没听清楚。您是说？
This is when the other person came back on the phone and got suspicious.
不知道，你跟我这干什么？
He says, "I have no idea. What are you up to?"
是 TVO 一个教育电视台，我们在
The translator then identifies themselves as a journalist. Before hanging up, the man tells them to shut up and says, "It's a rumor."
哎，你闭嘴吧啊，传言。
不好意思，没太。I think he hung up.
Yeah, he did.
But I didn't catch what he said at last.
I'm now a little bit worried.
What are you worried about?
I'm just worried because he sounded kind of hostile.
It's to be expected.
He didn't confirm he worked.
He didn't. It's a soft confirmation. So I said,
so?
are you with this number 1 prison?
Yeah.
She's the Chinese equivalent of what's up. 你说 like
Yeah.
what's up? What do you want? 怎么了?
Yeah, like speak.
Right. So to me, that's a soft confirmation that I would.
Because otherwise they would have said the wrong number.
And then when you asked, "Hey, or do you work here?" It was the woman who said, "Speak."
Like what's up? Right?
Yeah.
Please speak.
So I feel like maybe the woman is the one who actually works there. The man was like, "Do not say anything."
What I didn't quite get is what he said exactly.
It sounded like "be something something."
Yeah, it's like shut.
I think we should actually keep calling now because I think they're probably going to call headquarters and be like, "We just got this." Yeah.
Okay, but private number though works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was private. Okay, cool. Despite the fact that they told us off before hanging up, someone finally answered, which meant calling from a private number proved most effective. And sure enough, it worked again.
喂，你好。
你好。
哎，你好，您是新疆第一监狱的工作人员吧？
啊？
您是新疆第一监狱的工作人员吧？
不是，你打错了。
What did he say?
So I said, are you with number one? I asked that question twice, I think.
Yeah.
He said, no, you're dialing the wrong number.
And then he hung up.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not going to get past the do you work there?
I still have to say in Chinese, are you so-and-so? That's just culturally
It is.
the way to do it.
The new strategy is, hey, is this... Yes, it is. I just wanted to call and get more information about Huseyin Celil. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
We switched up the strategy to keep the conversation going and get to the questions we wanted to ask. But we had more strikeouts.
您拨叫的用户已关机. Kechirung, siz urgan abonentning telefoni etdik. Sorry, the subscriber you dialed is power off. Please dial again later. 您好，您拨叫的用户正忙.
The number you have dialed is busy.
The subscriber you dialed is busy now. 您好, Kechirung, sorry. 您好.
Up until this point, we were saving the call to the actual prison for last. But seeing as we weren't getting many bites from the staff, we decided to finally just call. We were also worried that staff may have reported us, so we wanted to get ahead of that.
Wait, 你好。
你好。
哎，你好，您这边是新疆第一监狱吧？
你哪位？
我是想了解一下，就是
你哪位？
我是加拿大的一个教育电视台，我是想了解一下玉江山吉利的情况。
你不要再给我们打电话了啊！你没有权利问这个。
为什么没有权利呢？
Whoa, tell me.
I was like, is this number one prison? Yes. I'm calling, like, who are you? I said, I'm calling from this educational channel. He said, who are you? And then I said, I'm calling about this person. He said, you have no right to ask the question. And I asked why not, and he just hung up.
You have no right to ask this question.
He said something earlier.
He was just like, don't call back.
Oh, don't call back.
Like, you said the name.
Yeah, I heard the name, yeah.
And then he was like, don't call back.
Like, to me, his tone was not soft. It's like, who the fuck are you? Oh. I'm sweating.
I'm tense? I can't imagine how you... I gotta admit, making these calls was a bit of a rush. We all felt a sort of high each time we got someone on the line. While we didn't get the update on Huseyin that we wanted, like his well-being, how he was doing, it was still a shock that we just spoke to someone inside the number one prison.
Let's try a policeman. Now I'm really scared.
A people's police officer.
Yeah, they're actually stationed at the prison.
Oh. So maybe this person will have known we just called the main number by now.
Let's find out. But before we could try again... It says account blocked. Wait.
Our account?
I hope not. Okay, I'm gonna call you just to test.
Okay.
Wait, me? No, call yourself.
Okay, I'll call myself. Oh no.
Let's try another, I don't know, pizza?
1, 6, 9, 6, 7, 11. Account blocked. It says our account is blocked.
By who?
Like, yeah, who blocked the account? Before jumping to conclusions, we looked up what the problem could be.
Okay, so it says that this could mean out of the ordinary activity has taken place.
Oh.
And Microsoft has taken steps to lock down your account. It could also mean you've been hacked or compromised.
Now I lost a connection from the VPN.
Oh. What?
I lost connection to the internet. Like, this isn't a bit. Like, I genuinely lost connection.
You want me to, like, unplug and plug back in?
Can you still access the internet?
Are you guys on the internet?
Yeah.
Good, it's just me. I'm starting to get scared. We weren't sure if our Skype account got blocked because we were switching our VPN a lot, or if the Great Firewall of China kicked us out. Either way, we decided to call it a night. But we weren't finished. There were more phone numbers to try. Perhaps next time we'd get someone different. We clearly needed some help. We haven't been the only ones to seek out information on Huseyin. There have been others before us. Former government officials who pressured the Chinese government to release Huseyin. A businessman who had his own methods of getting information on prisoners. I had to speak with them. As we wrapped up the calls for the night, we felt accomplished that we had finally made contact with the #1 prison, but also a bit freaked out, and the paranoia was only beginning. Next time on Extradition.
Hey guys, I think I'm being followed.
Whenever you think a person's in jeopardy, it makes it all the more critical that you act a certain way.
The Chinese were so upset, the Prime Minister had publicly raised his concern about, frankly, the kidnapping of this Canadian citizen.
When I ask about a prisoner, put him on a list or ask him, the Chinese know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for clemency. But I don't say that.
So you were trying to appeal to him on a consular level of just getting Huseyin access, but also on a almost like a personal, emotional level.
Yes, which failed miserably.
Dealing with a country like China, if you, quote, cause them to lose face, you're often less likely to get the desired result.
Extradition is written and produced by me, Yusuf Zine, and Kevin Young. Tiffany Lamb is our producer and editor for TVO Today podcasts. Kevin Young is also our audio engineer. Our story editor is Michelle Shepard. Our legal counsel is Willa Marcus. Production support from Jonathan Hallowell, Ariana Longley, Vito Tagarelli, Jeff Kusura, and Jennifer DeRosa. Artwork by Jasmine L. Kurd. Katie O'Connor is managing editor for podcasts and digital video at TVO Today. Our executive producer of digital for TVO Today is Lori Few. John Ferry is Vice President of Programming and Content for TVO Today. Theme song and music by Blue Dot Sessions and Audio Network. Extradition is produced by Innerspeak and TVO Today.